Welcome back to Beyond the Battlefield. Today, Krishna enters one of the most dangerous confusions a leader can carry. Because this isn't a spiritual dilemma. It's a leadership dilemma. One that shows up in boardrooms, startups, families, and inside your own head. When pressure rises, most people don't ask, "What is Dharma?" They ask something simpler. Should I step away? Or should I stay and act? And the scary part is this. Sometimes stepping away looks like wisdom, but it's actually fear wearing a clean outfit. And sometimes acting looks like strength, but it's actually ego trying to survive. So in Chapter 5, Krishna doesn't give Arjuna a slogan. He gives him a diagnosis. He watches the mind, not the words. In verse 6, Krishna will say something almost uncomfortable. Renunciation without inner maturity becomes suffering. And then he does something even more powerful. He describes what maturity actually looks like. A leader who can act without being damaged. A mind that doesn't command. A life where work happens, but nothing sticks. So if you've been feeling tired, not because of workload, but because of what the workload is doing to your inner world, then stay with us. Because this episode is not about doing less. It's about carrying less. Let's enter the moment just before Krishna speaks verse 6. Because what happens there reveals everything. Ankur, just before Krishna speaks verse 6, what exactly does Krishna see in Arjuna?
He sees a dream forming, a very comforting dream. Arjuna suddenly realizes both paths are valid. The renouncer reaches where the doer reaches, and that immediately triggers a thought. Then why not renounce? And this desire wasn't born here. This desire existed from the beginning. That's why the whole dialogue was even possible.
So when Krishna speaks of renunciation, Arjuna feels Krishna is finally speaking his heart?
Exactly. He thinks now Krishna is fully on my side. He feels justified, almost like thinking, why did Krishna take so long? When I dropped the Gandiva and collapsed, why not say then, Arjuna, you are a karma sannyasi. So inside, Arjuna is relieved, more than relieved. He feels validated. He feels I was right all along. And Krishna notices this immediately. Krishna is watching Arjuna's eyes, not his words. And that's when Krishna does something very deliberate. He approaches and then withdraws. The moment Krishna sees Arjuna feeling close, he steps back because Krishna will never allow himself to become an escape route.
So Krishna immediately creates difficulty again?
Yes. He takes away the consolation. He removes the comfort that was settling in Arjuna's chest. And this is where Krishna warns him. Do not misunderstand me, Arjuna. That renunciation is easy. That dropping action automatically means freedom. And Krishna is afraid of something specific, that only action will drop. But desire will remain. And that is dangerous because desire without action turns inward. It becomes poison. But Arjuna thinks renunciation is simple and Krishna reverses it completely. Krishna says running away from work is easy. Leaving responsibility is easy, especially in pain. So what Arjuna calls easy, Krishna calls difficult. And what Arjuna calls difficult, Krishna calls simple. Acting without expectation. Acting without running. acting without desire for reward. Arjuna fears being called a coward. That fear is very deep. He wants Krishna's testimony, a certificate to show the world, I didn't run. And Krishna refuses to give that. Krishna gives transformation, not alibis. So, like a real guru, he reads the disciple. He does not echo the disciple's desire. He gives what the disciple needs. And Krishna is not helping Arjuna escape pain. He is preparing him for revolution.
And that is when Krishna finally speaks. Verse 6. Now the warning must be spoken clearly.
Perfect renunciation, karma sannyas, is difficult to attain without performing work in devotion, karma yoga, O mighty armed Arjun. But the sage who is adept in karma yoga quickly attains the supreme.
Krishna says something almost uncomfortable here. Renunciation without yoga leads to suffering. And yoga here does not mean postures. It means inner alignment, emotional maturity, the ability to act without being consumed by ego. And Krishna is not rejecting renunciation. He is rejecting premature renunciation. When the ego is still alive, but action is dropped, that's when renunciation becomes painful. Because the ego has nothing to do, but still wants to be. Let's make this very practical. When someone renounces too early, the doer ego remains, the desire remains, and the expectation of peace remains. That inner friction is what Krishna calls dukh. Now let's bring this into today's leadership world. A senior leader feels overwhelmed. Meetings, decisions, pressure, people. And one thought begins to dominate. If I step away, I'll finally be peaceful. And the leader changes roles, moves from execution to strategy, steps back from responsibility. But inside, the need for relevance remains. The craving for validation remains. The fear of being unnecessary remains. And a new suffering begins.
This is exactly what Krishna warned about. External withdrawal without internal readiness does not create freedom. It creates a quieter, deeper unrest. But tell me, what does yoga look like for a leader?
It looks like responsibility without psychological weight, action without identity collapse, decision making without emotional agitation. Yoga cleans the inside while life continues on the outside. And Krishna adds something reassuring. He says, Na chiren, not after a long delay. Karma yoga is not a slow path. For active minds, it is the fastest path. Burnout is not caused by responsibility. Burnout is caused by carrying ego inside responsibility.
So before changing your role, before quitting, before withdrawing, ask yourself, am I renouncing action or am I avoiding inner work? Verse 6 teaches us this. Renunciation is not a technique. It is a result. Ankur, after verse 6, Krishna has made one thing very clear. That renunciation without inner maturity leads to suffering. So naturally, the question becomes, who is the person who can act without being bound?
And that is exactly what Krishna answers in verse 7. He does not give a command. He gives a description of maturity.
So, verse 7 is not instruction. It's a portrait?
Yes, Krishna is describing the inner condition of a karma yogi.
The karma yogis, who are of purified intellect and who control the mind and senses, see the soul of all souls in every living being. Though performing all kinds of actions, they are never entangled.
Yoga Yukta means united in consciousness, not divided inside. Thought, emotion, and action are aligned. The person is no longer fighting himself. Then Krishna says Vishuddhatma. And this word Atma is used in many ways in the Gita. Atma can mean God, the soul, the mind, or the intellect. Here Vishuddhatma specifically points to a purified intellect, Buddhi. This is not moral purity. It is clarity of discrimination. The intellect is no longer distorted by desire. Decisions are clean. Motives are unmixed. And then Krishna adds Vijitatma, one who has conquered the self. Here Atma refers to the mind. To conquer the mind does not mean silence. It means the mind no longer commands. It becomes an instrument. And next, Jitendriya, master of the senses. When desire is reduced, sense pleasure stops pulling the system outward. The senses are no longer rulers. They become servants.
So there's a sequence here. First, desire drops. Then, knowledge becomes clear. Then, mind and senses come under control. And Krishna is saying this doesn't happen by suppression.
No. It happens naturally when action is free from self-enjoyment. When action is offered, not consumed. And then Krishna says, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. This is a major shift. The sense of identity expands. Yogi begins to see the same self in all beings, and action stops being personal. When God is seen in all, respect becomes natural. Attachment drops. Exploitation becomes impossible. And finally Krishna concludes, Kurvannapi na lipyate. Even while acting, he is not stained. No karmic residue, no inner burden, no entanglement.
So Krishna is saying, Karma Yoga does not bind?
Yes, when practiced fully, Karma Yoga naturally leads to the same state as Karma Sannyas. And the difference is not in destination, only in method. Karma Yoga purifies first, and renunciation happens on its own.
So this is why Krishna insists on Karma Yoga.
Yes, because it transforms the entire inner system. Senses, mind, intellect, all become available for higher service. And this prepares Arjun to act without bondage and to renounce without escape. And that is exactly what verse 7 answers. Krishna is not offering stress management. He is offering inner architecture. Freedom is not about reducing action. It's about upgrading the inner operating system.
Krishna begins with the word Yoga Yukta. And most people hear balance or work-life harmony. That's not what it means. Yoga Yukta means no internal contradiction. The leader is not torn between fear, ego, and duty. He may be under pressure, but he is not fighting himself. And exhaustion doesn't come from workload. It comes from fragmentation.
Krishna then says Vishuddhatma, and this is often misunderstood as moral purity. But he's talking about purified intellect, Buddhi. A leader with purified intellect does not decide from insecurity. Strategy is not mixed with self-image. Authority is not used to feel important. But such leaders can still be firm, even tough. They can remove people. They can say no. But there is no inner dirt.
Most leaders I meet aren't incompetent. They're mentally hijacked. The mind keeps asking, what will people think? What if this fails? How will this reflect on me? Vijitatma does not kill the mind. He uses it. When the mind advises, but doesn't command, that's rooted leadership.
And Krishna includes sense control. That sounds old world. In leadership today, senses show up as impulses, craving appreciation, avoiding discomfort, chasing visibility, escaping hard conversations. A Jitendriya leader does not let comfort decide strategy, does not let discomfort delay truth, and does not let impulse become policy.
There's a sequence Krishna is pointing to, isn't there? First, reduce self-enjoyment motive. Then, knowledge becomes clear. Then, mind and senses fall in line. Leadership stabilizes. So control is not the starting point. Clean motive is.
This next phrase feels huge. Seeing the same self in all beings. This is not people first leadership as a slogan. This is an identity shift. When a leader sees the same self in others, exploitation stops, favoritism stops, manipulation stops, and respect becomes natural, not performative. That's why action stops binding.
And then Krishna delivers the line every leader secretly wants. Even while acting, he is not stained. No guilt residue, no ego swelling, no identity damage, no inner heaviness. The leader still carries responsibility, but not psychological weight.
And Krishna is making a bold claim here. A mature karma yogi is inwardly no different from a renunciate. One may act, one may not, but freedom is identical. And that's why Krishna recommends karma yoga, because it transforms you while you lead.
So, leadership doesn't burn people out. Unpurified ego inside leadership does. When ego is cleaned, action becomes light. Leadership becomes service. Freedom happens inside responsibility.
So this verse is not abstract at all. It's for CXOs under constant pressure, founders scaling chaos, managers caught between people and performance. Bondage is not in responsibility. It is in identification. And that's why Krishna doesn't ask leaders to step away from life. He teaches them how to stand inside it untouched.
Ankur, let me say this plainly. When Krishna says, "I do nothing at all," it sounds unrealistic. Leaders are doing things, decisions, meetings, consequences. So what is Krishna really saying?
He is not denying action. He is removing ego ownership of action.
Those steadfast in Karma Yoga always think, I am not the doer, even while engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, moving, sleeping, breathing, speaking, excreting, grasping, and opening or closing the eyes. With the light of divine knowledge, they see that it is only the material senses that are moving amongst their objects.
Verse 8 says this, a mature person knows this inside. I am not the center making everything happen. Seeing happens, hearing happens, eating happens, walking happens, breathing happens. But the person does not keep saying, I am doing this, I am controlling everything. Krishna is not saying stop acting. He is saying stop carrying the false weight of being the ultimate doer.
Like driving a car?
Perfect example. You steer, you brake, you stay alert. But you don't sit there thinking, I am making the road move. You know, action is happening, but life is larger than your control.
But Krishna adds something important. He says only the yukta, the aligned person, can think this.
Yes, because if an immature person says, I do nothing, it becomes laziness or escape. A mature person says it while acting fully.
And verse 9?
Verse 9 explains how this works. The senses see objects, the ears hear sounds, the body moves, the eyes open and close. The wise person understands these are natural processes. So instead of saying I am seeing, I am hearing, they know seeing is happening, hearing is happening. When you say I am the doer, you carry fear, you carry pride, you carry guilt. When you say action is happening through my role, pressure drops, clarity increases, energy stays clean.
So, in leadership terms, a leader still decides, still communicates, still takes responsibility. But inside, the story changes. Earlier, this defines me. Now, this is my role in this moment. And what exactly drops? Ego ownership drops. Identity attachment drops. Self-blame and self-glory drop. What stays? Care, responsibility, attention.
And this doesn't make someone careless. Carelessness comes from escape. This comes from clarity. So after action, earlier the mind kept replaying. Now, learning happens, then silence. No residue. So if we had to say verses 8 and 9 in one line, act fully, but don't pretend you are the universe.
Encore. After verses 8 and 9, Krishna has removed the burden of doership. But verse 10 feels like the final question. If action is still happening, how do I live in the world without being affected by it?
That's exactly what verse 10 answers. And Krishna answers it with one of the most beautiful metaphors in the Gita. Krishna says,
Those who dedicate their actions to God, abandoning all attachment, remain untouched by sin, just as a lotus leaf is untouched by water.
what does this mean is do your work. Offer your action to something larger than your ego and drop attachment to the outcome. When you do this, action will touch you, but it will not stain you. And this is not about leaving work. It's about changing the inner relationship with work.
Let's ground this. Take a leader handling a high-stakes project. Pressure from the top. Deadlines. Visibility. What changes when verse 10 is lived?
Earlier, the leader thinks, this project defines me. If it succeeds, I am successful. If it fails, I am a failure. That attachment creates fear, and fear creates exhaustion. Now, verse 10 enters. The leader still plans, still executes, still gives their best. But inside the story changes. This is my role. This is my contribution. The result belongs to life. Krishna uses the image of a lotus leaf. The lotus is born in mud. It grows in dirty water. But it rises above the surface and turns towards the sun. And yet it stays clean. And the lotus leaf shows something even subtler. Water touches the leaf, but it never soaks in. In Indian villages, lotus leaves are used as plates. Liquids are poured on them, and they simply roll off. So the leaf depends on water, but refuses to be drenched by it. That's the teaching. A leader lives in the world. Pressure touches. praise touches, blame touches, but attachment does not soak in. Work nourishes growth, but ego does not absorb it. And this isn't detachment from life, it's non-absorption.
Krishna says such a person is not stained by action. What does that look like practically?
After the meeting, after the decision, after the outcome, there is no replay loop, no self-punishment, no self-glorification. Learning stays, residue doesn't. So if we say verse 10 very simply, live like the lotus, grow in the mud, use the water, but don't let it soak you.
So, what Krishna did in this episode was almost surgical. He didn't tell Arjuna to renounce. He didn't tell Arjuna to fight. He showed Arjuna something harder. He showed him his own mind. Because Arjuna wasn't looking for truth. He was looking for permission. And Krishna refused to become an escape route. He refused to become a certificate. Because Krishna doesn't give alibis. He gives transformation. That's why verse 6 hits so sharply. Renunciation without inner alignment becomes dukh. Not because renunciation is wrong, but because desire remains. And then verse 7, Krishna sketches the leader who can act without being damaged, aligned, clear intellect, mind and senses not ruling, and a heart that sees the same self in others. And when that maturity comes, action no longer binds. Then verses 8 and 9 made it even more practical. Seeing happens, hearing happens, deciding happens, but the inner voice that screams, "I am the doer," starts losing authority. You keep acting, but you stop carrying the false weight of being the universe. And verse 10, Krishna gave us the lotus. To live in the mud, to be sustained by the water, but to not be soaked by it. Work touches you, pressure touches you, praise and blame touch you, but nothing sticks. That is karma yoga matured. So here's a question to carry with you. When you say you want peace, are you asking for freedom or are you asking for escape? And when you work tomorrow, will you work like a sponge or like a lotus leaf? Because the real test is not whether you act, it's whether action stains you. And in the next episode, we go even deeper. We'll explore what happens when action becomes so clean that it starts freeing others too. If this episode gave you clarity, share it with one leader who's carrying too much. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. You can also write to us at beyondthebattlefield@outlook.in. And don't forget to check the GPT companion link in the description. This was Beyond the Battlefield, where leadership isn't just about what you do, but what you become while doing it.